So we remember that SoftBank's chief Masa Son entered Trump Tower. He was one of the first foreign CEOs to meet with President Trump. They shook hands. They announced jobs and investment. How much of that do you think looms over today's meeting between Prime Minister Abe and President Trump?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that President Trump will be trying to get as much foreign direct investment as possible. He's done quite a bit of work to really bring jobs back and to get as many people internally in the country to be investing locally and also globally. So I imagine that's a top part of his agenda.
And you found yourself in the center of that. I remember one of the promises that came in that announcement was that OneWeb would be bringing 8,000 jobs back from overseas. Where are you on that? Have you made any progress?
Well, that was a combination of Sprint and OneWeb, and OneWeb is making a lot of progress. Our new factory is opening this year in the Melbourne area, on the Space Coast. Actually, it's on NASA property over in Exploration Park. We'll be building the world's first and only high-volume production satellite company, and we'll be building 3 satellites per day of these very high-powered satellites to be able to provide internet access globally.
Greg, there's a lot of talk about net neutrality now, especially with the changes afoot at the FCC. It seems to me a big part of the issue for consumers is rather the lack of competition in the availability of broadband at the local level. What is your stance on the changes that we expect to see in the regulatory environment and how OneWeb fits in the consumer picture?
So OneWeb is really about connecting rural populations, so rural America. So they're right now sitting with 0 options. We're not into the issue of in the city or in the suburbs where they have 2 or 3 different competitors. So most of the people, over 50% of America, really has no broadband option. There's no way to get the 25 megabits per second that the FCC deems as broadband. But more so, OneWeb is about providing internet access to the 4 billion people who are without access. Literally 54% of the world has little to no internet access. So the net neutrality issues are something, and the FCC's rulings don't affect, of course, international issues. But we're sort of aside from all that. We're opening up neutral pipes for everybody to have access.
You know, as we await the Prime Minister's arrival, Greg, at the White House, I'm just thinking yesterday the president talked about our infrastructure, our physical infrastructure, and how pitiful our trains are, say, versus the Shinkansen in Japan, if you've ever been.
Amazing.
Masa-san has repeatedly ridiculed our pipe as it pertains to broadband. I just wonder, how much do you think we are going to try to emulate what Japan has built?
Well, they have a very sophisticated infrastructure, for sure. And getting internet access everywhere really should be a priority. Because if you don't have internet access in the rural populations, you end up with a rural brain drain. If you don't have internet, you can't build a company, you can't have a college, you can't have a good education, and the kids just leave. So it really reduces the opportunity set for people in the rural areas. So getting a high-speed broadband pipe, and that's what we're building with OneWeb, is that we'll be able to do 100, 200 megabits initially, going up to a gigabit per second to all the rural areas of America. To be able to do that in America, including Alaska, all of Alaska, to have every single home to have high-speed broadband, be able to do that will really give a rise to the opportunity set for Americans.
Does it put American manufacturing jobs at risk?
It improves American manufacturing jobs and opportunities. It also elevates people so that they can create their own companies and create their own small and local manufacturing opportunities. So I think it's education and broadband are all good.
Not just robots. All right, we'll leave it there, Greg. Thank you for joining us today.